Love isn't about keeping score. Love is tricky, and it's not always what it seems. Some boys think if they give gifts, spend lots of time, or do nice things, it means someone will like them forever. But love doesn't work like that. People care about how you act today, not yesterday. Being kind or brave before won't automatically make someone happy now. The secret is to be a good, strong, and kind person every day, not to just try to earn someone's approval. When you focus on being your best self, happiness and love naturally follow. And then there is the matter of fidelity, a topic cloaked in misconception. Society has long told men that they are the primary transgressors, that infidelity is their domain. Yet women, silent and subtle, weave their own webs of betrayal, emotional infidelity, whispered validations, secret attentions. These are the shadowed corridors where she might stray first, long before the body follows the heart. A glance, a laugh, a message unseen can erode the foundation of your world. By the time it becomes visible, her mind and heart may have already traveled far beyond your reach. Blind trust, in this domain, is a dangerous luxury. To navigate this reality requires awareness, a quiet vigilance that does not suffocate but refuses to be naive. Loyalty is not given, it is discerned. It is often the men who chase, the ever-pleasing, who are left bewildered, for women are drawn to tension and unpredictability, to the dance of light and shadow in a man's presence. The so-called bad boy is not always malevolent. He is unapologetically alive, embodying the thrill of risk and the magnetism of self-possession, comfort, predictability, devotion. They do not ignite the fires of passion. The world demands a certain chaos for desire to flourish, a life so fully lived that it cannot be wholly known or tamed. To maintain that edge without cruelty is the art of being irresistible without surrendering to toxicity. Sexual desire, often mischaracterized as male-dominated, is equally potent within the feminine. Women are biologically attuned to pleasure, to experiences of intensity that can rival or surpass those of men. The difference lies not in appetite, but in discretion, in selectivity. A woman's hidden passions may remain concealed, appearing only for the man who truly awakens her desire. Many men mistake this discretion for absence, never recognizing that their partner's longing was always there, merely dormant, reserved for moments of authentic connection. To be desired in this profound way requires more than presence. It requires magnetism, a resonance with her inner fire. Consider the subtlety of social perception. A woman's attraction is not confined to the private sphere. It extends outward into the gaze of the world. Status, respect, recognition, these are not vanity, but vectors of desire. A man's value is amplified when mirrored through society's lens, when friends, family, and peers perceive his strength and significance. If the world deems him worthy, her attachment intensifies. If not, doubt creeps into her mind, destabilizing even what seemed secure. Love is not isolated. It is relational, intertwined with the fabric of communal observation. And lurking quietly, often unspoken, is the presence of contingency. Many women maintain backups, options held in reserve, for security, for choice, for the assurance that life will not collapse if the primary bond falters. Men, enthralled by the intensity of their devotion, often fail to recognize that they may be the principal choice, but not the only option. The elegance of departure, the ease of replacement, is not betrayal alone, but a reflection of preparedness. Understanding this does not necessitate cynicism, but awareness, an acknowledgement that love exists alongside contingency. Words, though seemingly truthful, can be illusions. What a woman declares often diverges from what she enacts. Promises may conceal impulses. Vows may mask desires that cannot be spoken. She may profess stability while pursuing unpredictability, swear loyalty while maintaining emotional connections elsewhere. Actions, not declarations, reveal the architecture of intention. A man attuned only to promises is easily deceived. A man who observes patterns perceives reality. The most profound lesson, the one that cleaves through hope and illusion, is that love itself is not always binding. A woman can love deeply and yet depart. Affection does not equal permanence. Desire does not guarantee constancy. Conditions shape her devotion: respect, excitement, challenge, security. When these diminish, even genuine love may not suffice. She may leave while still carrying affection, leaving the man stunned by the paradox of being loved yet released. In all of this, the essential revelation is that women operate in the realm of emotion, a world governed less by logic than by the pulse of feeling, by the rhythms of presence and resonance. To navigate it, one must awaken from the fairy tale, shedding illusions of control and entitlement. Once a man comprehends these currents, he ceases to orbit her world blindly and begins to inhabit his own. His power lies not in manipulation nor in appeasement, but in mastery over self, in building a life whose gravity naturally attracts, whose solidity inspires loyalty without coercion, whose magnetism creates desire without demand. This is where true understanding begins. The illusions of past efforts, the misreadings of words, the blindness to subtle betrayals, all dissolve when seen through the lens of psychological clarity. To witness her world as it is, without judgment or delusion, is to step into the arena of reality where men become architects of their own lives rather than mere participants in another's story. Recognition of these truths does not foster hatred or fear, but discernment, a clarity that empowers rather than confines. The journey is not simple, nor is it gentle. It demands introspection, honesty, and the courage to confront uncomfortable realities. It asks a man to measure himself not against fantasies or societal narratives, but against the raw, unfiltered truths of desire, attraction, and loyalty. To stand in such clarity is to inhabit a rarefied space, one where manipulation loses its power, where games are revealed, and where genuine connection emerges, not from illusion, but from resonance. The essence is this: women are creatures of emotional intensity, operating in a present that constantly renews itself. Their attraction is drawn to life lived fully. Their desire is selective but potent, their loyalty conditional but profoundly revealing. A man who sees this does not shrink in fear, but grows in sovereignty, sculpting a life whose gravity attracts without effort, whose solidity commands respect without force. In understanding these hidden landscapes, he ceases to be a participant in illusions and becomes the author of his own existence, where connection and desire are no longer mysteries, but reflections of the life he has built around his own clarity. The path of comprehension opens the gates to true power, not the power to control, but the power to exist fully, attract authentically, and navigate the complexities of human desire without being consumed. This is the terrain that most men ignore, preferring comfort over reality, fantasy over observation. Yet, for those willing to see, willing to measure, willing to understand, the reward is liberation, freedom from confusion, from exhaustion, from being a mere shadow in someone else's narrative. It is here, in this hard-won clarity, that a man finds his true axis, around which the world shifts not because he commands it, but because he is grounded within himself. The question that remains is not how to bend her to your will, nor how to shield yourself from heartbreak, but whether you can stand unshakable, whether you can build a life so vivid, so complete, that attraction, respect, and desire naturally follow. It is the knowledge of these hidden truths, the emotional, psychological, and instinctive currents of femininity, that transforms bewilderment into insight, confusion into understanding, and effort into resonance. Herein lies the quiet revolution of the self, a man awakening to reality, navigating desire not as a participant in illusions, but as a conscious architect of connection, strength, and presence. Once a man steps fully into this understanding, he begins to perceive patterns invisible to the untrained eye. He sees how attraction is never simply about affection, but about alignment with life force, with the intensity that emanates from a man who is unshakable in purpose. Women respond not to promises alone, nor to gestures rendered in the past, but to the presence that speaks of independence, self-possession, and an inner gravity that cannot be manufactured. The man who is enslaved by the desire to please, who measures his worth by her approval, is like a candle consumed entirely by the wind of her moods, flickering, unstable, and ultimately extinguished. But the man who cultivates his life with deliberate care, who commands his time, his attention, his energy, becomes a force that attracts naturally, effortlessly, because he is not defined by her, but by himself. Emotional intelligence, then, is not simply about understanding her. It is about mastering the self. To navigate the currents of female desire and loyalty, a man must first cultivate clarity within his own heart. He must distinguish between admiration and dependence, between being desired and being necessary, between transient affection and the kind of reverence that emerges when a man is whole unto himself. Most men do not recognize this distinction. They confuse presence with permission, kindness with submission, attention with love. And yet, it is only when a man lives anchored in his own reality, unshaken by her fluctuating moods, that he can perceive truth without distortion, respond without desperation, and act without illusion. The landscape of desire is layered with signals both subtle and profound. A woman may smile, may laugh, may whisper words of endearment, but the truth is often embedded in the silences, in the actions that accompany or contradict the words. Emotional infidelity, attention diverted, subtle disengagement, all of these are the markers of shifting loyalty. To ignore them is to drift into the currents unprepared. To observe them without attachment is to navigate the waters with mastery. A man who can witness without being ensnared, who can recognize without being controlled, steps into a rare power, the ability to choose consciously whom to engage with and under what terms, rather than being carried along by circumstance or by desire alone.